All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here. We are going to have so much fun doing this video. We're going to cover everything A to Z, all the bases we're going to cover on creating a beautiful boat painting like this along a beautiful cove and some homes here in the background with some trees and foliage, beautiful sky washes. We're using our Prang Oval 16 set. So this is more of a beginner set, but even if you've been painting a long time and you're an old grizzled pro, you can certainly break out your Oval 16 set like we have here. Our Prang Oval 16 has all the beautiful colors you would want. It's as easy as spritzing it with a spritzer bottle and you're ready to paint. So it's a good, quick, fast palette to use when you just want to do some really fun, quick paintings like this, compositions. Hoping you'll join in with us here. I'm using simple brushes. The Prang Oval 16 comes with a brush right here. This brush here comes with the set, works beautifully, has a nice point, and I have a few other brushes. That's all you need. I have a water container, obviously, for some water, and then a couple tissues and some paper towels, and you're all set. You're ready to go. And we have Fabriano paper right here, which is great paper. You can use anything from Fabriano. You'll never be disappointed. But in any case, we did want to say we wanted to make this a quick type of painting where we're going at a fast pace, so you can kind of see how it turns out very loose, looks really good. And again, we're not fussing for hours and hours and hours. We're kind of getting this in quickly. I'll show you all you need to do to get this painting completed quickly, efficiently, and let's get started. All right, so we just saw the finished painting. Let's get started. First thing we'll do is we'll game plan the sailboat, the houses here along the seawall here. So we're looking at about not quite halfway. This is about halfway. Let's keep it a little bit lower than halfway. So we could say this is about halfway. And again, this composition, we're going to want to kind of move through it kind of quickly. We're not going to take a lot of time. And a lot of times, if we move more rapidly and quickly through our compositions, our drawings, and our paintings, it can actually lead to having a more loose feel to our watercolors. So there is that definite link with working quicker. Usually will lead to looser looking paintings. Painting slower, sometimes at a very slow pace, would lead to like maybe a tighter looking painting, more not as carefree looking and loose. And a lot of people always like to say, oh, I like to have that loose look in my watercolors. How do you get that loose look? You know, you hear that about talked about a lot in watercolors. So we're going to try to do that here. We'll try to make it so that we maybe just focus in on a few different things in the beginning here, and then we'll talk about the rest of the painting as we're painting it, how to get that kind of loose look. So the first thing is design is always incredibly important. You know, we want to make sure we get everything pretty close to what we have here for our photograph. So again, I went with halfway here, and then a little bit lower than halfway should be the trees over here. And I'm just going to draw here quick. I'm doing a contour drawing, just basically drawing as I see everything in this photograph. And I maybe will stop at this point here, just so I kind of get my area of my distant, maybe some mountains back here and some other roofs of other homes over here and the trees. So I have that over here. That's good. Lower than the halfway point in the painting. So if that's the halfway point, a little lower, we have that. The trees over here. Then if we come down a little more, we're about halfway between here and the bottom. We're about halfway for maybe the bottom of this seawall here, right along the beautiful cove here, and a beautiful sailboat parked along here. Probably people have their homes right here, their shore homes and their sailboats, and they can just pull up and dock here and then go in, and you know, they have their home there all set up. And so here we have the halfway point between the tops of the roofs and the trees up here. Halfway to the bottom of the painting is the seawall here. So we can kind of start to take our seawall here and go to the left, and you'll notice that it is on a bit of an angle. So our seawall is like so. You could make it level if you wanted to, but let's stick with the photograph anyway. Okay, so we have that there. And then if we just sort of take our pencil and put it across here like this, and then we could put our finger down there and make a little dot here, and then we could sort of just lightly come across here, very lightly, just so you have the line there for the seawall. And then from this point, we'll start over here on the left side now, and we'll just get the stern of the boat. And that stern of the boat is actually halfway in equal distance from the top and the bottom on the seawall. So I'm going to approximately. So we have this here. It looks like it's pretty much vertical, this line for the boat there. And then we have a little bit of a angle to that there for the stern of the boat. And then we will take that line and just carefully go up. It's pretty much, we'll notice about here would be approximately over this way. Here, I'll put another dot here. That's where we want the bow of our boat to wind up, like that, like there. And then like this, angle down. And then we come across like this. Like that. And then we notice there's a dark bit of paint on the bottom of the sailboat, like here. So we're just going to go across the way. Contour drawing, which just means we're going from one point to the next and just drawing in the lines. I'd like to mention this once in a while, just so we kind of can remember. We want to avoid maybe doing like lines like this, like sketching like this, like sketching lines like this. We would probably avoid wanting to do that. We want to kind of do a contour drawing, which is just really, we get a little bit of a dot here and a dot down here, and then we link up those two. And then we say, well, we're going to have to come over to here. We make a dot here. We kind of know we're going most of the way across. And then we know that's a little bit higher than here, so it's going to be on an angle upwards. Once you have these two dots kind of figured out, you just take the line and you contour draw it like this, all the way up like that, to that point. And then you can come down and make another dot here, and then say, okay, now I'm here. Seawall is here. And now I can start making my way back this way with my pencil line, contour drawing that. So contour drawing really is, I think, works great with watercolor. It really does, because it's kind of loose looking, and you don't have to be perfect with it or anything like that. But it definitely will avoid having a lot of like pencil sketchy lines on the paper like this. That could look unpleasant looking once you are done drawing and then you're painting over the top. That might look a little bit unpleasant looking. A lot of the like sketchy lines like this and stuff. And I used to draw like this too when I first started, but I really learned about contour drawing, and then I stuck with it. There's a great book, by the way. It's called, I think, let me see if I remember the name of the book. It's Keys to Drawing. Keys to Drawing. And I think it is by, the author's first name is Bert. And I'm trying to think of the last name. What I'll do is, by the end of the video, we'll come back to this, and I'll have looked up the information that I need here. I have to give you the last name of the author, but the first name is Bert, and Keys to Drawing is the name of the book. And it's a great book. It talks all about contour drawing like this versus kind of doing like the sketchy stuff like this. This is, you know, preferable having nice, clean, crisp lines with the pencil lines like this. So I'm hoping that you'll maybe consider purchasing that book. I bought mine on eBay, I think, used, and it wasn't that expensive. It was actually quite affordable. So let's keep moving on here. So we have our contour drawing of our boat here, our sailboat, and then I'll continue with the details of the sailboat here. We'll take a break in a few seconds here, but we're going to try to go through this kind of quickly. This top of the cabin of the sailboat looks pretty level. So now when we come up here like this, then we notice, okay, now we're going to keep this kind of level like this, and it goes a little bit, this cabin ends up, the back of the cabin ends up a little bit past the halfway point of the sailboat. So if the halfway point of the sailboat is about here, we see that it goes a little bit beyond the halfway point. So here's about the halfway point, and you could put a little mark there, a little dot. We know it just goes a little bit past that, and then it slopes down like this. And then it comes like this, and it comes down like that. And then we have some other details and information over here, like that. And we're not going to get too much into a lot of super details. We're just going to draw what we see here. So this is the perfect time. Let's take a quick break. We have a great start to this, and it's not too overly detailed with what we're doing. We're just getting the basic shape of the sailboat and our waypoints, our hash marks of where things should be lining up. You know, the horizon line of the distant rooftops of these homes here along the cove. And then we have the halfway point between there and the bottom of the painting is the seawall here. We have our sailboat in really nicely. What we'll do is, after we're done with, well, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll start putting in the main boom here. I mean the main mast, and we'll get a little some of the other rigging here, and then we'll even draw in the house behind that here along the beautiful ocean cove here. And then after that, we're going to start painting. So we're going to be painting it like really quick. We're going to try to, again, move through this kind of fast. So I'll take a quick break and we'll come right back. All right, we are back. Took a quick break. This is the book I was talking about. Bert Dodson. Dodson is the last name. Keys to Drawing. Great book. Tons of information in this book. All about drawing, contour drawing, and all kinds of details with any type of drawing you can imagine. Figures, structures, ornate types of things. You know, I can just zip through here quick. Look at all the great drawings in here. So you have, like, it covers perspective, drawing angles accurately, how to use rulers if you want to, shading, foreshadowing, proper layout, techniques on how to draw and scale things to the correct sizes when you're drawing, plein air drawing, outdoor drawing, really beautiful, wonderful hash marks for doing techniques with drawing. So this book is just like everything you could ever imagine with drawing. It covers a lot of the great masters in history, what they did, Picasso and all these great master artists in history. So it covers so much. It's just a great book. I highly recommend it. I hope you will pick it up if you have a chance to. And let's keep working here. So again, we talked about just getting the layout correct, and we have really started out in a really good place of getting that, again, the tops of the roofs and the seawall, like that. And then the boat, we have our sailboat in here. And again, we won't go into huge amounts of detail. I will also use a ruler this is my T-square ruler. It's a smaller one. I think I broke off the end of it here. This here, we're going to kind of look and find out where that main mast is. So if that's the center of the boat, it's just a little bit forward of the center of the boat, like about there. So I'll put a little dot there and say, okay, that's where the mast is. Looks like it's pretty much vertical here, like pretty straight, almost like perfectly plumb vertical. So I'll do that, and it goes right out of the picture up top, so that's what we'll do. We'll do the same thing, vertical like this, and we just got a good, beautiful straight line like that. That's all. And then we'll make another line too, maybe forward of that one. And the mast is a little bit thinner at the top and a little bit thicker at the bottom. And when we paint it, we're not going to get into such high detail or anything like that. We're just sort of getting ourselves situated here with some good details. And then we have the cross member up here. And then we have another bit of rigging up here. This is the, let's see, that goes about there. Yeah, that's right about, so that one goes right up, starts here and comes down to the bow of the boat. Like that. Okay, so we have that point there. And we have another cross member here, which is about halfway between here and here and here. So halfway between the top of the cabin of the sailboat, halfway between there and this cross member up here, we have the other cross member there. And this one is a little less on an angle. So the higher it goes up, the higher your cross members go up, and when you're looking at it from the vantage point that we're standing here, maybe in another boat or sitting in another boat or across the way here, across the bay in this cove, you know, we just notice that this is more level, and then as we go up here it gets a little more of a steeper angle with the cross member like that. And that's perspective, basically, just the way the eye sees. So now let's continue with our contour drawing. Let's get some of the sails here. These sails are, let me do this first. Let's go here, and we'll get some of these rooftops going across here. And these are just sort of hit and miss lines. You don't have to do any detail to it, just a little bit of parallel lines here. And then maybe where the mast is, if we go forward of the mast a little bit, we'll see a little bit of a wall over here. That's like this. And then there's another bit of the bottom of the houses over here. The bottom portion of the houses looks like there's decks on the backs of these houses. So we're not going to get into that detail though. We're just going to kind of get some parallel lines going. There's some more trees over here. You can use foliage to help with your design of your painting. So it's sort of like, it looks fine to have a lot of foliage over here on the right hand side, so we don't have to get too much involved with like a lot of detail. Then here we're looking at the seawall again, top of the seawall here, and then we have some grass over here like that. Okay, and then we're just going to keep working our way across here, and then this is going to be the edge of this corner of this house here is right in line with the back of the boat. So I'm going to come up here like this approximately and call that the, so there's some grass here, there's some grass there, and some grass here like this, and then there's the, this will be the roof here. And again, I'm not going to get too, I'm just going to leave it like that. And then some roof here. Then we have a tree over here. But first, before we put that tree in, let's get some of these sails over here that are wrapped up and bungeed so that they're neat and organized while the boat is sitting. And we go right across there with these, and we just kind of see the shapes there like this, and we have another one back over here that goes right to the edge of the back of the boat. So these are some more sails here, again wrapped up, bungeed up, tied down, battened the hatches. And then we have the other bit of sail over here like this, like that. So we are covering all points and without too much painstaking details. And then I might just do a little bit of railing around the boat, and then I will do the windows on the boat over here like this. 1, 2, 3, and right underneath this mast is the third light window for the cabin there, and then there's another 1 and 2, 1 and 2 like that. Okay, so we have some oval windows here like that. And maybe this tapers down a little bit more like this. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I think we have really a lot of the drawing complete now. Maybe we'll do a little more details over here. We're going to do a window on this side of the house like that. And then over here we'll do another window like this. And then there's another window here, like that. And then we noticed there's a tree right here. And we can do it about here. Here it is. And it goes up like this. A little bit above the roof. Like that. Okay, so I put in some of the main trunk of the tree up here. It would go down over here if we would see that. It comes down to the bottom over here, and then there's grass over here. But this is plenty of detail for us. So we have the details of the trees. There's some more trees and shrubs over here. We could put those in a little bit like this. And then some dark areas here. We notice there's some dark areas here. That's the underside of the decking on the back of that house. And I think this is more grass over here. Maybe we'll put the house like that. And then over here, that's going to be more grass there. And then the seawall is pretty much at the top here. And we have a little bit of railings here on the boat. And that is it. Let's keep it at this. We wanted to kind of keep this painting like very loose and not incredible detail. Let's just have it, you know, enough detail that we explain the painting as we're going here, that it looks good, like this. We have that other house here, a little bit of shadowing, and then the rest we're going to do with the I think I'll leave this here, and maybe I'll just put a little bit of like that. And the tree kind of flows out like this. All right, I think that looks good. So I might just get this angle better here, like that. There's a little bit of a shadow there under the eave of the roof there, and the same over here. All right, let's come back. We'll take a quick break. We're done with our drawing, pencil drawing, our contour drawing, and now that we're everything is pretty good, we have everything in. Have everything looking fine here. I think we can start painting. All right, be right back. All right, now is the fun part. We're going to do the painting portion, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the alla prima technique and method, which means we're going to paint everything at one time. We'll start with the darks. You'll see me on many of my videos working in the alla prima method, which is again just starting out really with the darks most of the time first. Like, you know, we would be starting out maybe with some of the darks along the decks here on the backs of the houses, some of the greenery underneath the boat, and some of the details on the boat are some of the darks. And this is a little bit dark. It's kind of a red color, but it is, if you squint your eyes, you'll notice that that is kind of darker than obviously the white of the boat and the light pinkish orange facade of these houses here. So you know, we'll work as we go, but I think, again, I was kind of just wanted to mention, like, I am going to try to go at a faster pace so that we kind of just keep it really loose and fun, and then you know, on your own you can do more detail if you want to, but we'll just go through some real quick simple progressions here as we go through the painting. Again, painting it all at one time, and also keying in on the darks of the composition of the photograph we're working from, and picking out the darks as we can see them. Again, the bottom of the boat, if we were to start at the bottom and work our way up, let's say, the bottom of the boat is quite dark. There's a stripe on the boat here across, ornamentation, beautiful ornamentation on this sailboat. We noticed that the darkest darks here would be along the bottom of the decks on the houses here. And then there's some trees and bushes over here, quite dark. Over here, some greenery that's pretty dark. Over here too, there's some kind of middle darks here, not extremely dark, but those are the things we'll start with, and then from there we'll do the medium tonal values, which would be the grass, the leaves on some of the greenery, the water. So we'll go as we see things working out for us. We're using, again, the Prang Oval 16 sets. We're using a beginner set. No need to always use 2 paints. If you want, you can break out your Prang Oval 16 if you want to do a quick painting. Enjoy it. You just hit the spritzer bottle with this. All right, you hit the spritzer bottle, activate your paints, and you're ready to go. No other worries at that. We're going to get some darks started. Let's do blue. Maybe this is going to be right here in the center, this blue. And then some green. So I'm going to mix a blue-green, a little bit of brown in there to darken it up and also gray it down a little bit. And again, I'm looking to see if I can kind of leave the colors separate. Like I wouldn't want to homogenize this all together like this and just keep mixing it all together. I'd rather leave it so you see the identifiable colors as we're going like this. You'll see some of the brown, the beautiful earth tones. You'll see some of the green, some of the blue. Maybe we'll put some orange in there like that. So we're going to have a really nice mixture of these warm and cool colors, right? We have orange, that's a warm color. Maybe a little bit of yellow. Orange and yellow, a little bit of red. And then cooler colors, the greens and the blues. This painting is probably more cooler colors, with the sky being blue and the water cooler colors like the green and the blue. But not to get too overly analytical about it, let's just say we'll start here at the bottom and we'll just start getting in that dark. We see that as definitely dark. At the bottom there, we'll put some purple too. Why not? Let's get some purple, blues, and greens. Purple, blue, green. Can't go wrong with that. And you just come right across here, change it up a little bit, maybe some green, like that. Maybe some orange and red too. So we'd like to kind of modulate our colors. We want to avoid. I always mention this. I always have to remind myself too as well. So I also tend to sometimes not listen to my own advice, which, that's always the case with everyone. We always sometimes want to do something, but we do something different that we just forget to do, so I'm just reminding myself and also reminding all of us here that we're working together. Let's modulate our colors, get some green. We'll pick up some warm colors too, warm and cool everywhere, like that. So you kind of see that's already an exciting mixture of colors, like that. And then we'll do another darker kind of stripe along the top of the boat. So over here it's a little bit more thin. And then as we go over here, it's a little thicker, the lines. And then the technique here would basically be, you get some paint on your brush. You could dry off a little bit of paint too on a tissue or paper towel if if you want to make sure you keep this line really nice and thin looking, because it is the stripe of the top of the boat here, and that's really thin. You can see how thin that line is. So if you want to get a thin line, the first thing you absolutely have to have is the pointy brush like this, and this is the number 5 Da Vinci travel brush. And this comes with the Schmincke palette, which I often use on my channel. So you'll probably, if you've been with me for a while, you'll always know that I'm always using the Schmincke palette a lot, the metal palette. But I also use this a lot too, the Prang Oval 16 palette. And that comes with a really nice pointy brush too. And I think I have it over here. Yes. This is really also a nice pointy brush that comes with the Prang Oval 16 set. So when you buy this paint set, you get a brush like this. And why not? Let's use this brush, because it has a really beautiful point and it works great, and we'll continue on with this. So then again, The technique with this would be is to rest the hand on the paper so it's nice and stable, your hand and your brush, and then you just go a little bit at a time, maybe like a couple inches, and then you stop, pick up a little more paint, rest your hand on the paper, get nice and stable, and then use that really nice point to just go another inch or two like this. Perfect. Maybe pick up some red orange and then do the same thing. We rest our hand on the board. I have a large working board I use. It's probably 24 by 18 or 20, yeah, probably 20 by 30. A 20 by 30 masonite board. So whenever I'm working, I always have like a large table area, and then I put everything taped down on top of that. And that really helps too, so you always have something to rest your arm and your hand on. So always good to have that. But sometimes if you're out in the field doing some plein air painting outdoors or whatever, you might not have that real nice perfect setup, but in the studio I make sure it's super comfortable. So you can see how we got the really nice stripe along the top of the boat, and we'll just keep working. And that's all I'm saying is let's keep working our way up. There we go. Let's get the windows in there. Those are dark, right? Those windows are very dark there, so let's get those in. And we're just going to keep with that same methodology of let's get the really super darks in first as we're going up in the picture, starting from the bottom of the painting and going upwards. And then what's our next dark set? Well, we see some dark over here in the seawall here. So we could take that dark and go right across here. Pick up a little bit of red maybe, and orange and yellow. Change up the color a little bit. Why not? Let's make it exciting. It's easy just to take one color and just go. It's much easier. You know, that's easier. But if you want more impact and dynamics to your painting, well, then you're just going to know that you're going to have multiple colors in your palette that you can just work from. And that's another thing. I always want to mention this. And does this make sense? We put like our colors that we're going to use all out when we start. We put all of our colors out when we start so that it's all there, and then we don't have to be like thinking about, oh, I got to go in here get this, or oh, I got to get that. You get all your colors you want to use first, and we said we're using like purples and greens and blues, and all the colors actually. We're just mixing up warm and cool. So we had blue, we were using our blue, we're using our purple, we're using our greens over here, and we use some brown in there just to get like a little bit of that kind of olivey green, and gray things down a little bit, neutralize the color a little bit. And then we also had yellow and orange and red. So if you have all those colors right here on your palette, then you have it all set up, ready to go, and then you just start painting, and you just keep working on your painting and looking back and forth at your photograph that you're working from, or if you're outdoors and you're painting an actual scene, sitting in front of your scene, you'll be doing the same thing. You just constantly look at your scene, then you're painting, and you say, okay, oh yeah, that's a dark there, I see that dark. And then, oh, where's my next dark? Oh yeah, I see right here, there's like a dark up here, over here by these bushes, and it's kind of just like a abstract looking dark, but it is there, and I'll leave it like that, just like abstract kind of looking, with some blue and green too, like that. And then as I come over here, I did notice there was some areas where there's some decks on the backs of the houses, and there's like that dark shadowing underneath the beautiful decking that's on the backs of the houses. So they have their decks and lawn chairs out there and barbecue grills, and they're having a great time. It's the summertime. Maybe it's winding down and they're getting their last barbecues and all kinds of fun stuff. Boating in, they're going out on the boat, enjoying the beautiful weather, this ocean, all this fun stuff. Living along the shore must be phenomenal. I love going there and visiting. I visit the shore often. And like to paint and take pictures and good stuff. I hope you'll do that too. If you have any lakes or oceans nearby, I hope you'll get out and check out some of those areas and maybe take some pictures. You bring them back to the studio like this, and you'll have some great subject matter. So here we go. We have more darks that we're putting in. And I would say next we would maybe, let's work on some of our greens. I might go with a little bit of a larger brush now. So I might shift up to a number, this is a number 8. number 8 Charles Reed travel brush. I really enjoy these brushes a lot, so we'll move up to this brush here. And again, the blues and the greens. Now we notice these are these blues and greens are that's going to be for our foliage and trees. And there's some other lines this way. And this is where you can kind of enjoy just doing some abstract type of shapes. A little bit of splashing over here, like that for the foliage. And then there's some more darks over here, like so. And then there's some more greens here. Right along here, there's some greens. Splash on some greens, maybe do a little finger tapping. I like to leave plenty of white paper too. Okay. And then what else? Let's do, since we're working on, let's create the tree over here because we're working with the greens already. Why not? Let's we have that green going, a little bit of brown for the olivey green, a little bit of orange, a little bit of red. Okay, plenty of mixtures of warm and cool, a little bit of blue over here. Let's get some blue over here, a little bit of purple, blue, purple, green, probably a little more green and yellow. And what I'll do is I'll just splash on here. And what I do with my trees is I don't like to fill them in everywhere. I like to leave white paper showing through. That gives the tree a little bit of feeling of like there's a three-dimensional quality to it, so that you're going to see through the tree. It would be easy just to paint it as a big blob of green, but does that make sense? If we can just take a second and say, wait a minute, let's leave some white paper in our tree here so that we feel like we can see through the tree. And then we have maybe a little fun thought of just maybe some birds flying through it too. So we want to leave some areas where birds can fly through the tree and have a good time too, and just kind of, they're doing their thing and we want to make them happy too. And then we do that. And then we splash on here like that for a little more bit of foliage like this. And I think that's it. That is really good. Then we would actually, at this point, pick up again our brush here, our really fine point brush, which comes with our Prang Level 16 set. We'll have some purple, brown, orange, purple, brown, orange, a little bit of green and blue, kind of a conglomeration of mixtures, but a decent amount of brown. We want to have the trunk of the trees kind of a brown color. We take our brush, get some of that brown with the other mixtures of colors, of course. Dry off the brush a little bit with a paper towel or tissue so that we don't have a tremendous amount of paint and water on the brush. We want to use the very, very tip of that pointy brush, and we want to get the trunk of the tree here upwards like this, and then some of the branches that branch out like this. And if we just do them quick like this, there we go. We have it. Quick, easy, fun. All right, let's keep going. We're going to do the red sails here. So let's think of this. Let me see. I want to do maybe a couple more details here, like this. I just wanted to do a little more of a detail to that tree, maybe a little bit more branches over here, and leaves and things over here like this. Okay. Now we can do this here. You can make this any type of red or any color you really want to. Maybe I'll go with some orange. Feel free, if you're the artist, it's your painting, you can change things around, change colors. You might say, you know what, I want an orangey red versus like a more of just a real, maybe like this is a really like kind of a cool red. Maybe you want to go with a warmer red like this. So let's use an orangey red. Again, you can do any colors you want to. It's your painting. You can make it blue, red, green, yellow, whatever you want. It's your painting. And you'll just do that. You can go in and grab some paint here. Like this. And again, I'm trying to go kind of quickly here. I want to make sure I make this like a, this painting work for our schedules here. We don't want to be here for 10 hours. We're going to kind of get this in quickly. All right, so there we go. Leave some light on the top of the masts, maybe. We'll paint around the top of the mast maybe later when we paint the building. We might leave the buildings white with a little bit of color maybe. Who knows? Okay, so now we are really in great shape. I think we're going to go with a little bit of orange and yellow for the seawall. So now we're just going to start working again from the bottom. I'm going to work from the bottom here. Some green and blue. I rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of water. Make that seawall like that. And then over here the same thing. I'll make the seawall like this. Then there's a dark back there. Some green grass. Okay, so I'm going to work in some of that green grass. Maybe a little bit of yellow to make it a little more livelier over here maybe. Across here like this, maybe more yellow. Make it more lively looking in the center of the painting, the green grass, and then we can make it more dull looking toward the edges of the painting. That's a great kind of method to use if you want to have more excitement and focus in the middle of your painting. You can just take your colors and make them softer looking and cooler looking and more grayish looking toward the edges of your painting. Like this, so you can kind of do that. Okay, so we have some of that green grass there along the sides and by the decks over here. And what else do we have? We have some grayish green roofs, brown. Put my roof over here too as well, like that. Maybe a little bit of that cooler color, the colors of the sky for the windows. We'll put the windows in. Now we haven't used this color, so what I'll do is I will take this color that we have here and put it in a few spots. I do want to use it, I just didn't think to put it on the palette early on in the painting. So if you do want to introduce a new color, this really beautiful kind of turquoisey blue, Prussian blue, turquoisey blue, just take it and put it in some areas of your washes that you already have created, and I would keep them kind of, I don't know, I would keep that really exciting Prussian blue or turquoisey blue. I would leave that in the center of the painting. I wouldn't put it toward the edges too much, like that. Okay, so then we have that there, and we are really what we'll do is we'll take a break. Before we go with our break, let's do this. Let's take a paper towel. We're starting to mix a lot on the paper, so let's take a paper towel, dip it in some water, and we'll just start some new colors because we've got a lot of the colors all mixed in there and it might get a little bit muddy looking. So let's clean our palette quickly, and when we come back we'll start again mixing some new colors, but we're using the same colors. We're not changing anything. Just going to mix out some new colors and keep working. But I think we're already past the halfway point. I think we're really nearing the completion of the painting. We're not going to, again, go with too much time on this. Let's get it in, make it look fresh, fun, quick about it. We're going to keep that in mind. Let's do a fast painting. Let's work quickly and not get too bogged down with too many details and too much fussing around. All right, let's be right. We'll be right back. All right, now we're getting towards the finishing point of our painting, and what you could do and what I like to do, I'm actually going to do this right now myself. I'm going to pretend that I'm in a rush and that I have to actually finish this painting for some reason. Someone told me, like, maybe I'm working with another artist who I'm studying with, and they're like trying to show me how to get looser with my paintings, and they're saying, okay, Chris, what you have to do now is you've been taking quite a bit of time to do this, but you've been working at a good pace, but I want to see you finish this painting faster. I want to see how quickly can you work right now so that you can get the painting done, that it's going to look good. You know, you're not looking to like anything perfection-wise, but just try to get it done as quickly as possible and not take too much time. And I'm going to pretend that they're setting up a timer for me and saying, okay, you have to finish this in 10 minutes. So I'm going to pretend that I have 10 minutes to finish. I'm not going to set a stopwatch right now because I might not have enough time for 10 minutes to do this, finish this up in 10 minutes. But I'm going to try to go as fast as I can to finish this painting up and keep it really loose, really fun looking. And again, it's just a composition. There's no real big, anything on the line here. It's not like I'm creating this for somebody that hired me to create a painting for them, or making this for a gallery showing or a competition and I have to get this done in that fashion. You know, I'm just going to say to myself, okay, now I'm going to try to go at a really quick pace because I've got a lot of the details done, like the more detailed work here that we kind of can see, like the boat and the homes here along the water and some of the trees. So that's kind of a lot of the details of it, of the painting. And then what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of a larger brush now. This would be my number 8 Charles Reed travel brush. And I'll try to get in here and get the rest completed really quick if I can. So first thing I'll do is I will take a little more time with this. I'm going to mix out more paint, and I don't want to rush that. So let's do this. Let's get our paint that we need mixed up a little bit here. So we're going to do a little more of the orange and the red over here for the bottom. There's some more sails over here that are draped over the bottom over here. So let's just do this. Let's get these draped sails over here. Like that. Okay. So that's kind of good. Now we have that. And what else do we have to do here? Again, to move at a quick pace. All right, I know the sky will go quick. We'll just use a simple blue with the sky. A couple different blues we'll use. But again, I'm mixing my paints now carefully. So let's start off with let's do the water here in the alcove here. So I just noticed if I look at it, you'll see a lot of the white reflection of the boat reflecting down into the water. So you have a little bit of that lighter bit of chalky looking white here underneath the boat. So we want to do that. We want to make sure we capture that. What I'll do is I'll take some water now, fresh clean water, and just wet the paper here underneath the boat. So the whole bottom of this painting, I'm just going to take some fresh clean water and just coat the paper with, to dampen the paper. I don't want to flood it with too much water. Just enough that I coat the whole bottom of the paper here, and I even touch up along the bottom of the boat like that. And once I have that done, then I'm going to mix up some colors, and I just know we're going to go back with the same colors we used before. We had blue, so we have some blue. We had some green, blue and green. Okay, we had blue and green. We had also purple. So we're going to use some purple, like that. Blue, green, purple. A little bit of brown in there to neutralize that color. Make it a little bit more grayed down a little bit so it's not too spicy. And then we have, again, some more of that brown and orange and red and yellow. So we'll have a little, again, that bit of the warm and cool, right? The cools are the blues and the greens and purple. And then a little bit of the warmer oranges and reds. So now we have damp paper here, and we're just going to look over here and say, okay, what are we going to have here? Blue, and green, a little bit of the, like that. And I'm just really keeping it simple. Just downstrokes like this with my brush. Now here we talked about the bottom of the boat is, we'll do the same thing. More blue, touch of the turquoisey blue, purple, blue, brown, a little bit of brown, purple, blue, green. Okay, let's just come over here and do it this way. Okay, like that. I'm going fast. I don't want to take too much time. Then I take these same colors and then make it lighter up here like this. So now I'm going to use more water, less paint, so that I have that lighter look to it. And that's all I'm doing, just like this. Okay, then I rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, blue, green, blue, purple, green, blue, purple, a little bit of brown. And I'm just going to do this, go under here and get a little bit of a shadow, like that. Then maybe a little bit of, you could take a tissue or a paper towel and just kind of roll it up like this, if you want to. Just a kind of a fun way to get some more lights in here, and then just crease it like this. And then you can just take it and kind of touch it down and just lift up a little bit of paint. Like that. And that'll work to give yourself a little more of that light, reflected light from the bottom of the boat, or from the side of the boat down into the water. And I think we have a really good representation here of the water. And then I'll do a little bit of shadow over here on the left side on the stern of the boat. There's a little bit of shadowing under here. Like that. A little bit of a shadow there. There's a little bit of some shadowing under here. So again, I'm going to try to go pretty fast if I can. Then I soften it up by rinsing off the brush, drying off a little bit of water, and then just doing a little bit of softening of that shadow right along the bottom there. Like that. Okay, and then some more, a couple of dabs of blue there. We have some shadowing, purple. Some shadowing underneath the eaves of the roof here. Same thing there. Shadow over here on this side of the building. Like that. Some more bits of light there in the windows. Okay. And some more green here. All right, and that's really, we're getting there. Maybe there's a shadow between the two. I don't know if that's a line in the buildings. Sometimes I look at some things and maybe have some questions. Sometimes I have some questions when I'm looking at what I maybe drew before, but that's no big deal. Again, I'm trying to really get this done and complete this quickly, so I'm not going to get too worried about things right now. The next thing I'm going to do is dump out my water, get fresh, clean water in, because I'm going to do the sky now. And the sky I'm going to do really super fast and quick. And again, what I do is I always make sure when I do my sky colors, I get fresh, clean water in my water container like that. Like, can you see that, how fresh and clean that is? And that's perfect. So I want to have that for my sky wash when I start this sky wash. And what I'll do is I'll take that fresh, clean water, and I'll just put a little bit up here on the paper. And I won't put it everywhere. I'll blot it on there just so we have a nice, fun, loose. I'll put all the way on the top. I will put it all the way across there. So up here, lots of fresh, clean water all the way across that very top line of the painting. But then as I go down further, lower, I just intermittently put it on there, the water, the damp water. And you can have it puddle up a little bit if you want to have some, because I would just say this, watercolor is kind of like, it does most of the work for you if you just like throw some water on there, and then we'll show you how you do it. Blue, a little bit of that turquoisey blue or Prussian type of blue. We're going to have that. We'll have a touch of green in there too in our sky wash. We're going to have, again, the blue up here. We're going to have a little bit of purple too in there. So that's going to be my sky wash colors, but mostly blue, so I want to get more of that blue. Touch of brown to neutralize it a little bit, or orange. You could use orange too. And let's do it. Let's get it going here. And that's all you have to do is just start putting that color right onto the water. You'll have some cloud shapes here. And then you just sort of take your brush and drag it on down like this, and just have the water do the work. Just like that. And then toward the bottom of the sky, you'd want to add a touch of orange. Like this, just a little tiny bit, like this. And you just put that along the bottom of the sky to warm it up a little bit. The sky is always warmer at the bottom, and you'll have that little bit of orange hue at the bottom of your skies. Okay. You could take a tissue and blot up a little bit of color. Like that. And that is it. We've completed the painting. I don't think there's anything else we really have to do at this point. I think everything looks good. We're not going to overwork it. If anything, I would just go back, maybe add a few figures, and maybe do a little bit of like a grayish shadow along the mast of the boat. Maybe we'll do that. We'll come back and let this dry, and then just do one or two little touch-ups. But this is it. Quick, fast. And I don't think we took more. We definitely did not paint an hour. We've been drawing and painting an hour. I think we're like under an hour here, so that's really positive. If we can keep it, from being like a 5-hour video, let's do that. Let's let this dry 100%, and we'll come back and just do a few little touch-ups, add a few things in that we think we might need to do. But other than that, it really is looking pretty good. Okay, so let's come back in about a half an hour once this dries, or if you use a blow dryer, you can dry it off like within maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll finish up. All right, so we're going to finish up now. Again, we were saying we're trying to speed the process up a little bit, have fun, enjoy, make the process go actually quicker by trying to like speed up and kind of psych ourselves up and say, oh, we just pretend you have somebody telling you, oh, you got to get it done in the next 20 minutes. helps you to just kind of really put the pedal to the metal and get some things done. And you know, I think that really will help us. So I'll just finish up here with the last bit of details I think we need to do. So that window over here, that was going to be, we wanted to do that. And then with that same color, which is kind of like a brownish gray color, I wanted to take the that same color and just do a little bit of a shadowing on the mast here on the right side of the mast. And I'm just really keeping my brush very stable like this. And then maybe just here and there. I'm not going to go everywhere with that shadow, so I'll do it there, maybe a little bit up here. And I generally think I probably should have kept track of my light a little better on this painting, because I think the light's actually coming from the front this way, kind of like overhead. Like it's probably middle of the day right now over here in this photograph. It looks like middle of the day, like noontime. So the light's kind of straight up overhead. But I think it's a little bit from this way over this way. So I started my mast and put the shadow maybe on the opposite side, but never to worry. And then we'll just do this, a shadow underneath this part here, the cross members here. Same thing up there like that. If you want to get a straight line across here, you could do it a couple different ways. I think the best way and easiest way is I'll move this out for a second, and I'll just do this. I'll maybe just do like rest my hand on the paper like this. Everything's dry. I use the blow dryer to dry off the whole painting, so everything's dry. I rest my hand on the paper, and I think I just go like, you know, a little bit at a time here. And it doesn't have to be that you paint this whole line the whole way. I would rather see it, if you're going to do this line, you paint it maybe like an inch or two here. Then you skip a spot, and then maybe you come up here and ever so slightly touch down on there like that. Then maybe up here again you do a little more. And I'm just painting right on top of that pencil line that we created earlier. And then maybe I come down like this from the top down and just do a little bit like that. And we can even add some white paint to that if we wanted to. I think we will do that. We'll add a little bit of white paint. So again, since we did accomplish our goal of doing a good job of rushing, almost not rushing, but really speeding up our pace, we got a lot of this completed quickly. So now we do have, as we're finishing up, we do have a little more time. We can add a little more detail as we go here. So I'll put a little bit of this kind of sand color there, just to get ourselves looking good there. Won't get into too much detail with the boat other than what we have. We will do a couple of figures, so we can take some brown, maybe some orange and brown, blue, orange, brown, and blue. And maybe we'll make a figure over here, since this is dry over here. This paint we just painted here, we have to wait till that dries. So we're going to do this. We're going to do a figure here. And then maybe we'll do a figure over here too as well. We'll do a figure over here, like this. And again, I'm using my Prang Oval 16 brush that comes stock with, it's a number 6, it comes stock with the Prang set. And maybe we'll have some yellowish shorts here, like that. And we'll have a little bit of flesh tone. That red is fine, just like this. And we'll just have a little bit of flesh tones here. And this person is doing some work with the rigging and so forth. So you have a couple figures in there. That looks good. Just a little bit of that human forms in there, just to have something interesting happening. Maybe another little bit of a figure over here, maybe. Maybe we have another figure here. Like that, maybe some red for the face. So we're going to do a little bit of a, just there. Okay, so we're having some fun making our figures in the boat like that. And if you just put, like, again, these very suggestive figures here, that's all you need. And that really will look fantastic. And then we'll have a little bit of that darker bit of shadow under here with a little bit of the gold, maybe some orange. Usually the shadows have some warmth to them too, so we will do that shadowing under there, maybe some shadowing under here. Just a couple of bits of shadow like that. Does work pretty nicely. It makes a good representation of what's there. Okay, and for the boat, I think the boat looks pretty good. I will bring the photograph back into view again here, like that. So we have figures in there. We've got mostly everything looking pretty good. Again, we said we weren't going to labor over this too much and, really, get way off in the weeds trying to put all kinds of details in there. The only thing left we could really, this is always a beautiful thing to do, to add a little bit of some light, some little sparkles of light in your painting. This is the greatest way to do it. You take titanium white and you put a little bit of, like, tiny bit of yellow or orange in the top of your tube of your paint. And I've already have some still left in there from the last time I made some highlights. But you take that, so you make sure your brush is dry. You rinse off your brush, dry off all the water. And then you go in and you just pick up a little bit of that white paint, the titanium white. This is Holbein paint. I use Holbein a lot. Basically, I use mostly Holbein and Winsor Newton paints. Mostly Winsor Newton, but Holbein too I use quite a bit. And I get some of that white paint on the very, very tip of my brush, if you can see that. Just a little bit there, just a tiny bit. We don't want to go too much with that. And then you just do a little dab on top of the head here for a highlight, the sunlight. Maybe a little bit on the shoulders too, like that, like this. That always looks good. A little bit of light on top of the shoulders and the top of the head. And the same thing over here too. Okay, so now we have some highlights on the shoulders and the heads of the figures. Then you could also do a touch of highlights here with the rigging on the boat. You would do it maybe where it's dark. So you would add bright light where you see dark paint underneath. That accentuates it. And I think that's pretty good. Maybe there's we have some panes in the windows here. Like that. You put a couple of panes in the windows. That looks phenomenal. It gives it more detail. Okay, a few of those over here too. Thing like that. Maybe a little bit of white here, across here. Maybe there's some highlights on the grass, and bring back some highlights to the grass area. Maybe a little bit of highlights up top here. Like that. Of course, up here that would look good because you have the blue sky. So if you can get a little bit of some light shimmering off the mast and the rigging, that looks kind of good. If you do a little bit, a couple of dabs of white there. And that I think is really about it. So I'm glad you joined me here for this painting, and we kind of really wanted to stress that we wanted to work quickly on this. Hopefully we did a good job, and we got this done quickly. We used our Prang Oval 16, more of a beginner's watercolor set, but you can use it too. If you've been a pro a long time, you can always, I use this a lot. It's fun, it's beautiful colors. Why not? You have to go with what looks good, and there's some beautiful colors on these palettes. So I'll lift up the tape now, just so we can kind of see what it looks like isolated. And it's Fabriano paper, so I use Fabriano Artistico paper. Fabriano Extra White is the extra white rough paper. And if you ever need more details on my paint selections and papers and stuff like that, you can always email me or text me or leave comments in the comment section. I can send you something if you want me to send you what I use as far as all my colors and things like that. But that's pretty much the painting. We did it quick, we did it efficiently, we didn't spend 10 hours doing it, we had fun, and I'm hoping you're going to join me again on another video very, very soon. We're working every week. We're creating paintings just like this, classic watercolor paintings, boats, oceans, beaches, landscapes, city scenes. We do a little bit of portrait work every once in a while and figures. We also do still life, flowers, lots of flower paintings on my channel. So if it's your first time here, really, I'm saying welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. You're at the right place at the right time for learning watercolor. I go over each video that I create. I always make it a point to go over all the fundamentals of watercolor so that you never are at a loss as to the key ingredients that you're going to need to work with to get a beautiful painting and a beautiful end result over time, because it does take time. Never listen to anyone that tells you that watercolor is easy or that it's just, you should be doing great paintings in like 6 months or a year's time. No, it does take time. Watercolor is a challenging medium, but it's phenomenal. You can take it anywhere you want to go. You can bring it on vacations, weekend getaways. You can paint anytime you want in your house, your home, your place. You can go outside. You can paint in the backyard. You can go to a park. You can take your watercolors anywhere, because they're really, think of how this is so portable. You just have the palette, a spritzer bottle to spritz your paints. You bring a few of your brushes with you in a duffel bag or a backpack or your purse, and a little small, maybe a sketchbook, a little small sketchbook, and you have it. You can take this anywhere, have fun with it. There's a lot of joy with watercolor, and I'm hoping you're going to really utilize it and have fun with it and feel that joy of painting in watercolor. It's a great medium. All right, so we're going to come back in a very, very short time. Before you know it, we're going to be having another video. And also, too, if you subscribe on the right-hand side below, the subscribe button, that means you won't miss a thing, because YouTube will alert you when we create our next video. So when our next video comes out, if you click subscribe, YouTube will let you know that we've made a new video, and then you can check it out. If you like it, you can work on it. If maybe you just want to watch it, maybe it's not your favorite cup of tea as far as what we're working with. I realize not everyone's going to like every video, but it's always good just to watch, because again, I cover all the fundamentals on every video. So even if you're watching, you're going to learn a lot about working with the paints, the brushes, the water, all of the details of watercolor painting. So happy painting, everybody. You have a great evening, a great afternoon, a great morning, and we're going to see you very, very soon.